Welcome, everybody. Another milestone reached 450 episodes, still going strong. And today I'm excited to talk to Mr. Jim Odom. He's the CEO and founder of Unveiled Vacation Rentals in Texas Hill Country. And he's running a property management, short-term rental property management company. And today we're talking about how to be the short-term rental expert in your market. And we'll dive deep why that is important. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jasper. I appreciate it. Yeah, I feel like I've reached a new milestone, getting on the pad.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
That's right. Well, that's right in line with what you've been doing. I mean, you're telling me you just did a workshop for like 350 realtors in your market. Yeah. That's incredible. Like, tell me more about that.
Well, I tell you what. Yeah. So I just finished up Legends X in December, in the end of December, and one of the very last things that we did, and really what I wanted from the beginning was the property abundance plan, and part of that plan is really reaching out to people who know your target audience. And for me, and this was something else I learned in Legends X, my target audience is investors. So as part of my plan to get in front of investors, I started going through and I was talking to everybody I knew, talking to all of my cohorts in Legends X and my coach and you and Eric. And one of the things that came to me was every investor who wants to get into short-term rentals, they have to have a property, which means they have to have a realtor. So I decided that I was going to spend my time connecting with realtors. So as part of that, I set up a couple of Facebook groups for my individual markets. So I'm in San Antonio and in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I've set up groups for each of those. And part of getting people to come to the groups, I've been reaching out to realtors, just telling them what I do and asking them if they think it's an interesting proposition that we work together. So I talk about the things that I can provide to help them sell houses. Well, one of the people that I connected with, she's the president of a realty agency in San Antonio, and they have a team of 375 agents. And after a little bit of talking to her, she invited me to present our services and my ideas to their entire team on a virtual meeting. They do this every Tuesday. And this morning, I had the chance to present to 375 agents. So it was pretty amazing. And it went, it was a great conversation, and they had really good questions. A lot of them have never dealt with short-term rentals or investors as buyers. So it's a new world for them. So there's a lot of education that I'm going to want to do with them. And but today was step one, and it was an incredible meeting, and they're a great group.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible, man. I mean, we're now in what is it, like early February, so it's only been a short amount of time since you completed the program. And it's awesome to see the action that you're taking. I mean, to be on a virtual call with 375 people who could potentially bring you business, that's a major accomplishment. So congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, I just, sometimes I have to pinch myself, but so we finished really right before Christmas. And I took some time off. So Legends X is a 90-day program. It was intense. It was, for me, it was a 7-day-a-week type of effort. So I took a couple of weeks off between Christmas and New Year's. but right after New Year's, I hit it, and I wanted to really put what I had learned to work. And so let's say I started about the 5th or 6th of January. On the 14th of January, I had signed 3 new properties, which I only started with 3. So I had 3 going into 2022, and I doubled the size of my business by the 2nd week of the month. Again, due to what I learned in the property abundance plan. And now two weeks later, I've got at least visibility in front of this group of 375 and probably 100 other realtors that I've contacted individually that have all had interest in what I'm doing.
Wow, that's incredible. And, you know, one question that we get a lot when it comes to realtors and brokers is, wouldn't they see you as competition? That's a concern that a lot of hosts come up with. What's your response to that?
So, well, the great thing is that, you know, and this can go either way, but in this case, it's really a positive thing is I don't have a realtor's license. So I'm absolutely not in competition with them. But what I made clear to this group and to everybody that I've talked to so far is that I want to help you sell more houses. Because if you sell more houses and you're happy with what I'm doing, then you're going to tell them when they ask you who should I get to manage, you're going to remember my name. So that is the point of this is to really team up with the realtor. I want to be their go-to guy for short-term rental questions. So whenever they have a question, whenever they need information, whenever they need a revenue analysis on the property, whether they have the questions of, will this make a good short-term rental? They're going to come to me. And so I have, in their eyes, I have become the short-term rental expert. And because of what we've talked about, what I've talked about with them, we've formed this partnership. And so I think it's the best of both worlds, and it really is pretty easy to see from both sides that it's a positive partnership and a win-win.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that I would love to dig a little deeper. Number one is, you know, you've essentially in a very short period of time, you've now become the expert in your market, right? A lot of people now see you as the expert, which is interesting because that went really fast, right? That went really fast. So it's really fascinating to me. And I know this from, you know, back in the day when I wrote my book, I didn't really see myself as an expert. I was just, you know, I was like, hey, no one's written this book, so let me write it. But then suddenly I started realizing, hey, now everybody thinks I'm the expert, right? And so that's really interesting. And, you know, I think the important thing to understand here is that everybody who's managing a handful of units or owns a handful of units, like, we are all experts compared to people that don't know much about short-term rentals, right? So it's a fear that a lot of people have where they feel like, oh, well, I'm not really the expert, so I don't want to go out there and educate people, but we really should, right? Because we really have a lot of information. We have a lot of value that we can bring to the table. And that brings me to my second point is we have to start by offering value. And I love what you're saying is like, you're focused on, I want to help you sell more houses. You're not starting with like, I want more clients. You're starting with, I want to help you sell more houses. And if I can help you, then over time, things will come back to me.
Absolutely. And, you know, I've seen it over and over. This industry, people that are in the short-term rental business, it's amazing to me how giving they are and how unselfish they are, how willing to share both the successes and the failures. Every time that I've met somebody that, that I'm intimidated by, because they've been so successful in this business already, and in the short amount of time that this has really been an industry. Every time I've met somebody like that, they have been so genuine and so sincere and just willing to sit down and talk and tell me things that have helped me. So, it's one of those things where as you get further down the line, the timeline to get somewhere compresses because of the mentors that you have and the coaches that you have and the all of the relationships that I've built over the last 4 months or so have just been incredible in teaching me how to not make the mistakes that they have made.
Mm. So I think one thing that's kind of intimidating to a lot of people when they start realizing, okay, in order to attract clients and in order to attract business, I got to put myself out there in the world, and I got to start telling the world what I'm doing, right? That is a bit intimidating to a lot of people because it's a lot more comfortable to just sit behind your computer and look up some stuff online versus like actually reaching out to people and being in front of a Zoom, even a virtual meeting of 375 people can be nerve-wracking. Were you nervous at all when you did this morning?
Yeah. I didn't sleep much last night, but it was, but it's one of those where I'm into sports analogies, and one of the big football analogies is you're always nervous until you get hit in the mouth the first time, and that's what it felt like. So even today, in an environment that was very friendly and very inviting and very team oriented, I was nervous getting on there for the first time and talking to so many people at once, because I've never talked about my business to that many people at one time. But once I got on there and people started asking questions, all the nerves went away, and all of what I have learned over really the last 5 years. I've been managing properties for 5 years, but everything that I learned just kicked in and it took over. And I had this big long script for my presentation, so I would make sure that I talked about these certain things, and that lasted for about 45 seconds, and then I just totally went off script. But from what I can tell, it went great. I've already had 3 phone calls from that, and it was just 3 hours ago. So I think it's going to be a good thing, and it was nice when I realized that I wasn't nervous anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting how that works, right? The buildup is like the most nerve-wracking thing once you're on it. It's always a lot better than you expected.
Well, it's like when I got invited to be on Get Paid for Your Pad. I just totally fell apart. So it was, these are experiences that I'm learning to enjoy more. But it's not really. I'm a behind the scenes guy. I've always been a behind the camera guy, not an in front of the camera guy. And that's something else that Legends X helped me with, because I did get the opportunity to do some videos in front of the camera and kind of practice that skill that I didn't know that I had. So it was nice, and being things like this, doing things like this in front of so many people. I didn't think I'd be here a year ago, that's for sure.
Awesome. Well, that's incredible to hear. I'm super happy to hear that, and it's amazing to see how quickly you're getting results by going outside of your comfort zone, and doing the things that you need to do, which is like I said, it's, it's outside of the comfort zone, right? I'm curious to know, because right now it seems like you're on a roll. You've got all these contacts now already. You're doing presentations in front of so many people. You're getting phone calls. You're onboarding new properties. I would love to hear what were your first steps, because those first steps that's always the hardest part.
Well, I feel like my first steps have lasted for 5 years. So, uh, you know, this is one of those, the overnight success that took 5 years to happen. But I've been building up to this, and I was to the point several times where I didn't ever know if I was going to, get to that next level and be able to make a real business out of it. I've had my own businesses in the past. I've had full-time jobs in the past, and I have something where I usually can feel like if I'm going in the right direction, if I'm going to get to that next level, and when I stop feeling that, it's usually time to move on. And sometimes I've done it too late. Sometimes I've not done it soon enough. But it's right now, I feel like I am in the right spot at the right time. I think that the things that I've done over the last 3 or 4 months have helped me prepare for this and get me to this spot. You know, my coach through the program, she has introduced me to so many people in the industry, and I've just seen what they were able to do, and that made it real for me. Mm-hmm. So I needed somebody to be my expert, and right now I'm trying to put myself in their shoes of being somebody else's expert. Yeah. And even though I'm new to the business of short-term rentals, like I said, I've got a lot of experience. I've been doing it for 5 years. I know there's a lot that I don't know yet, and a lot I will experience, but I've got 5 years more experience than somebody that's starting today.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And that's a lot of experience, 5 years. That's a lot of experience for sure. One thing I learned from one of my mentors back when I started venturing into the entrepreneurial space, the person told me, be the hub, not the spoke. Have you heard of that expression? I have. It's it really, if I look at it, even in my past life, at different jobs, I have the personality where I'm a person who likes to connect people. I like to connect the dots. I like to connect people to other people. And the way I've always kind of seen my role in different organizations is I'm the person who knows a little bit about a lot of things, and I can help this engineer or software developer talk to this marketing girl or this vice president, and because they don't talk the same language, I've been able to talk the same languages, and I don't know if your mentor had the same kind of vision for the hub in this book, but that's the way that I've seen it in my experience for me is just being where I can know enough about a lot of things that I can help a lot of different people interact and communicate where they wouldn't have before. And that's kind of what I'm doing. Yeah. No, I think that's a good way to describe it. Like you're connecting like different spokes together, right? The way I also think about it is, I imagine that wheel, and then I think of all the spokes of being people, and then there's one person in the center who kind of maybe organizes a workshop or organizes even like a party of whatever it is, where you bring people together. And then for some people always recognize the organizer. It's kind of the same as in I used to speak at some conferences pre-COVID, right? And it's when you go to a conference as an attendee, it's really hard to get time with the people that you really want to talk to, right? But when you're one of the speakers, that suddenly becomes a lot easier, because oftentimes the people that you really want to connect with are the people that are also speaking. So now suddenly you're in a different room with all the speakers, and there's a speakers dinner, and there's and that's where you can really kind of connect. So in my mind, it's like, how can I be the organizer, or how can I be the person in the center that connect other people or educate other people, organize something where other people can meet each other. Because that's in my mind, that's how you bring a lot of value to a lot of people at the same time. And then that comes back to you, right? It comes back to you in, was it karma, right? You put more of yourself into the world, and more will come back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's you say that, and I never thought about it this way, but it makes sense. You talk about the giving, wanting to give, and that's really where it starts. If you can give to your community, to your tribe, to whatever you want to call them, it people are comfortable to give back. When you give somebody something, it makes them a little more comfortable to be vulnerable with you, and so they share more, and then you can learn really what they want and what they need, and then you can give them those kind of things. Once you give somebody what they really want and what they need, then I think human nature is to try to reciprocate with that. So that's what I'm I'm building my business around, and I'm trying to be that person to, I'm gonna make sure that you have what you need to be successful.
Yeah.
And then I really believe that karma is going to come back, and it's gonna make my business successful as well, and then will impact a lot more people along the way.
Sure. I want to go back to what you were talking about in the beginning, right? You mentioned the property abundance plan, which, if people are listening right now, that's our plan that all our Legends X students put together in order to really to create a rhythm and a consistent action taking, to make sure that whenever somebody thinks about short-term rentals or Airbnb in your market, they're going to think of you, right? What are these things that you can do every single day to over time build up that authority? And I'm curious to know, because like it sounds like you've implemented that plan to perfection, because the results you're getting are incredible. Like what are those action steps that you laid out for yourself?
So for me, because the plan itself, we were going through it, and we were talking about, there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. But what I had to understand pretty early is that I can't do all of them at once. I need to focus on small steps, and where I can have the most effectiveness. So really, what I started with was creating Facebook groups. So I created Facebook groups for Charlotte and for San Antonio short-term rental associations. And really and this is kind of an extension of my business as well, the purpose of those groups is to get people together to have a voice when it comes to regulations in our markets. So with San Antonio has already, they've already implemented the regulations, and it's a pretty mature market. So with San Antonio, and I've actually teamed up with another association who started a little bit previous to mine, but they had some already had some experience working with the city and working with the city council. So when we found each other, we started talking and we decided to team up. So we're teaming up to make sure that we are involved in all future conversations about short-term rentals. So that's more of a long-term goal with San Antonio. With Charlotte, on the other hand, Charlotte has a very restrictive policy that is in the planning stages right now, and if implemented, would have a big impact on short-term rental hosts and owners and managers. So we are quickly trying to centralize a number of hosts and owners and investors who are going to be impacted, and we're trying to insert ourselves into that conversation that's happening right now. So kind of getting back to the point was, I wanted to have a voice in the industry. I wanted to be the authority in both of these markets, and this was one of the ways that I wanted to be able to do that and be able to help the community at the same time.
Yeah.
So then after I put those together, then as part of the recruitment phase for both of those groups is when I started talking to realtors about what I was doing as a business, and that's what got me to the big presentation.
Awesome. And where these? Sorry, I'm hearing some echo. Give me 1 second.
I don't hear it.
You don't hear it? You don't hear the echo? Okay.
No.
Maybe we were fine. Yeah. So talking about, well, let's talk about those Facebook groups first. I love how you mentioned like you didn't want to do everything at the same time, right? Which is also something that we emphasize in the program too. It's like choose your marketing channel. Don't try to be on Facebook and Instagram and build a website with SEO and do all these different things, reaching out, emails, all that stuff. Like really think about like what channel do you enjoy and where do you think you can offer value? And for you, it was those Facebook groups, which is awesome, very powerful. And if you focus on it on one channel, like you can really get some traction, right? That's what it's all about. When it comes to the realtors, did you already know some realtors, or did you kind of randomly just reach out to some?
So I know some realtors, and some of them I've talked to about this business in the past. But really going into this, I didn't know what to expect. I honestly, when I thought about contacting the realtors, I really expected that all of these realtors are already going to be working with a property management company and they're not going to need my services. That's really what I expected. What I found was very much the opposite. Either people were, oh wow, I haven't thought about that. That's kind of interesting. Let's have a conversation about it. Or it was like, oh my gosh, we were just talking about this yesterday and we're trying to put a plan together and you called me at the perfect time, and yes, we want to work with you. So that's the kind of the responses I got, and it was very surprising to me because I had a much more pessimistic view of how that effort was going to go, and I'm glad I talked myself into continuing it.
Yeah, that reminds me of a lesson that I learned from Tony Robbins. Like he always says, never make negative assumptions.
I know.
That's a good
I'm
example of
still
that.
trying to teach myself that.
I mean, we all have to remind ourselves, every week or so, we have to remind ourselves of these type of things, right? Because our minds are holding us back otherwise, right? So, um, this is incredible, man. Like I'm super super excited to hear about your success. I just love when people educate themselves and they take action and they really like give it 100%. And that's what gets results. So I'm just super super excited, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I just thought about this one other thing that has happened over the last couple of months, um, directly influenced by Legends X and my contacts that I've been able to make. I was invited to be an author, so I was there's a book that's coming out in 2022. It's going to be amazing. It's all about hosts and their stories, and the the stories are going to be very wide in range. But some people, it's how I got into the business. Somebody, it's I have this guest that comes back every year, and it's almost like a reunion when they come visit me. And so all these different types of stories from hosts, and I was invited to be a part of it, and I'm really excited about it. And the book is called Hospitable Hosts, and it will be on Amazon later this year. So I'm really excited about that. But that's just another opportunity for me to get in front of people and to help more people and help my business in turn.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. Yeah, let us know when the book's out, and we'll share
Absolutely.
it on the podcast here for sure. Um, Jim, for the people that are listening right now, you're in Texas, Hill Country, Texas. Every time I think about Texas, I just see a brisket. So that's my
Oh
favorite
yeah,
thing to eat.
we got lots of brisket. Lots of brisket.
You're also in North Carolina. If people are listening and they want to know more about short-term rentals in those areas, they want to invest or they want to just visit the region, how can they find your properties and your services, your company?
So anybody that wants to stay in one of our properties, you can come to Vacations Unveiled, vacationsunveiled.com. That is our hospitality brand. So where we help match people to places where they want to go. If you have a desire to invest in short-term rentals or have an investment rental that you would like to talk about management services for, we have a website for Unveiled STR Management.com, Unveiled STR Management.com, and you can reach me through either of those, and I'd be glad to sit down and have a conversation.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. Very inspirational to see, how much progress you're making. Doubling, your portfolio in just a month or two is incredible. Can't wait to see. I'm sure you're gonna. By the next time we talk, you've probably doubled it again, given given the fact that you spoke to so many people today, alone today. So yeah, Jim, thank you for your time, man. I appreciate you going through our program, and I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy. You're a busy man right now.
Well, I wouldn't be busy if it weren't for you. So thank you very much, and thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim, and thanks to the listeners. We'll be back on Friday, of course, Eric and myself, with a version of the STR conversations. So we'll see you on Friday.